Yesterday was the World Championships 24-hour. So the runners run in a circle for 24 hours, and whoever runs the longest distance at the end of the 24 hours and stays in a race wins the race. Can I think of a more boring event for running? Let's discuss that. So for me, when does running actually become interesting? And what do we need to do as a sport to make running interesting so that people actually tune in? And we get more eyeballs that are not necessarily just runners. As somebody said on his channel the other day, 90% of running fans are runners. We understand what it's like to run and run long distances, and so we'll tune in and watch a race. Maybe if London Marathon is there and you live in London, maybe you'll go out and watch it because you want to be part of this celebratory feel. Maybe the same in Boston and New York and the major city. Maybe if there's a race on your doorstep, you'll go out and watch it. But are you a real running fan? No. And it's exactly the same in cycling. If you speak to the most avid cycling fan in the world, for the first week, probably the first 2 weeks, until it gets to the mountain stages, they're just going to tune in for the last 10 to 20 minutes because they know that's when the race is going to be won or lost. They know it's going to come to a sprint finish. They know that there's no breakaways anymore, especially in the first 1 and 2 weeks when it's mostly flat. And so they're only going to tune in for the last 10, 20 minutes. And then maybe, if there's something up the Ventoux in the Tour de France, which is obviously the biggest cycle race in the world, maybe they'll tune in and watch a big stage like the Ventoux, maybe. But they'll only watch either the highlights or they'll watch the last 1-2 hours because it's just not interesting to see runners running along or cyclists cycling along. So you have to think of how can we improve as a sport to get more eyeballs on the sport. Ironman taking over UTMB. It's fascinating because it's literally divided the community. The purists don't want Ironman to have anything to do with it because they're taking over these other smaller races to make them qualifying races. They're building out the brand of UTMB. The commercial thinking people, or the people that kind of are invested in the sport because they want to see a bigger vision for it and they want to see more people involved, which, by the way, the more people involved is going to mean more children at the base of the triangle. I think it's only a good thing for the sport. Don't want to see it too commercialized? Not really, it's not me, but it's inevitable for the sport in order for it to survive. If you look at long distance running and you look at the shortest real long distance race, you're probably looking at 10K, 5K, possibly. But if you think about 10K and you speak to most runners, they will tune in for the last 4 laps of a race. Some, like crazy people like me, will watch the entire 10,000 meter race because I love running so much and because I want to see the tactics, what goes on. Very, very few people are tuning in for the entire 10,000, and that's that might be the Olympic final in 10,000 meters. Very few people will tune in for the entire race. They'll want to watch the highlights or they'll want to watch the last 4 laps, which probably, like a championship race like that, probably it's going to be won in the last 2 to 4 laps. So how can we make 24-hour running interesting, or 48-hour or 6-day? Like, we can respect the pursuit, we can respect the level of discipline, determination and dedication it is just to get yourself on the start line. I had friends there yesterday from Spain, from the States, from the UK. I was fascinated to see, and it was as interesting as it possibly could be. The race, it was like you look at the results, and you know the Lithuanian Alexander has done over 300k for the 3rd time. Mind blowing! It's absolutely mind blowing. That's an incredible effort. And then the world record has been broken by, I think it's Nika from Japan, 270k for a woman. It's absolutely insane. So it's as interesting as it possibly could be, the result. But when you look at the coverage, the video coverage, and when you look at the live streams and everything that's going on, it's like, how interesting is it to see an update on Facebook or an update on the website to say that, oh, after 12 hours, these are the standings. After 14 hours, these are the standings. But can it be any more interesting than that? When you tune into the stream, it's runners kind of jogging past, most of them doing 5-6 minutes per kilometer or less speed, and just jogging past and you don't know what's going on because the race has to include recreational athletes as well as the runners running for the country. So you don't really know what you're watching, and you can't really, because it's in a circle, because it's easier for the logistics, you don't know what's going on in a race, so you can't even view it as a race. We need to change that. So we maybe need to take something from what Ironman is doing. What Ironman has done with the World Championships in Kona, that has made it interesting for the entire event. How have they done that? Why am I watching swimming caps bobbing up up and down in water for the first hour? Why am I doing that? Like, the reason I'm doing that is because I cannot wait for the bike and I cannot wait for the run. And they're telling me stories along those 8, 9, 10 hours. They're telling me stories, personal stories about people. It doesn't matter whether they're finishing first or last. They're telling me personal stories about that personal journey of how that person got to Kona and qualified for Kona. That's interesting. Those interviews need to be pre-recorded and then inserted into, because you cannot keep it interesting. Whether it's on the bike, whether it's swimming, whether it's running, you cannot keep that interesting for multiple hours. It's not going to happen. Running, cycling, swimming, it's never going to be football where anything can happen at any time. That's why ball sports are so easy to market and so easy to kind of put big money into. So basketballers, footballers, NHL, whatever it is, they're earning mega money because of the amount of people that want to watch it. How can we do that for running? As I said, you cannot not respect what these people are doing. 300K is absolutely mind-blowing in 24 hours. 270K for a woman, world record, absolutely mind-blowing. But how can we make that interesting? I don't know. I don't know. And so if you have ideas, let me know underneath. I have my own ideas, and I think the sport has got to evolve. We've got to make it more fascinating for people to see. If you think about what we're competing against, we're competing against the UFC. It's just gone from 0 to 100, like in the insane pace, and has now become one of the most, if not the most exciting sport on the planet. And it looks sound in terms of branding, in terms of kind of the fighters, in terms of everything looks sound. Everything looks like it's really well prepared. The same with, golf, tennis. How do they make their money? And the top people are making mega money. Maybe outside the top 10, it's a bit more difficult. Outside the top 100, you're nowhere. So how do we get more eyeballs onto running so that the athletes can benefit and the fans can benefit? We need to make it more entertaining. But how to do that? You tell me in the comments if you have any ideas at all, and if you were watching the 24-hour yesterday and you saw the world record, and you saw Alexander's performance, what did you think? What did you think of the live coverage? What do you think of the updates on Facebook and social media and the website about who's running what distance and where everybody's up to at certain times? What did you think of that? How do you think it can be improved? Super important. If you've got anything from this, and it's not a fascinating topic for me to discuss, but it has to be fixed in order for us to see longevity. The key take home from this is this was the first World Championships 24 hours in 4 years. For me, that's a level of incompetence of the IAU, and it's a level of incompetence of the organizers of different events, of 24-hour events around the world, that need to get their act together in order to make these things happen if we actually want these things to happen.